Discover how he changed her life in 30 minutes, the heartwarming story of a runaway heiress expo. Lily stood at the grand entrance of Thornfield Manor, her heart racing as she glanced back at the sprawling estate she'd called home. The crisp autumn air felt liberating against her skin as she took a deep breath and stepped into the unknown. Today was the day she would break free from the gilded cage of her high society life, filled with suffocating rules and endless expectations. She shoved her old leather suitcase into the trunk of her beat-up car, the first symbol of her rebellion, and hit the gas toward a new life. Driving through the golden-brown trees lining the highway, she felt alive for the first time in years. Her destination was a small town she'd heard about, bustling with authenticity and warmth, the exact opposite of her life in the city. Upon her arrival, the scent of barbecue wafted through the air, mixing with the laughter of families gathered for the annual community expo. Colorful booths displaying handmade crafts surrounded her, and a feeling of exhilaration washed over her. This was what life was supposed to feel like. As she strolled through the lively atmosphere, her gaze caught a ruggedly handsome man, a local mechanic named Jack, who was enthusiastically showing off his prized car. She watched him as he knelt beside his young son, Max, teaching him how to fix a small dent. His smile spoke volumes, radiating warmth and kindness against the backdrop of mundane busyness around them. With every laugh from Max and every tender moment the two shared, her heart swelled. Their conversation began as a casual exchange about cars, but it quickly transformed into something deeper. Jack's authenticity captivated her. He spoke with passion about the life he built for Max and his struggles against the tides of economic inequality. Just as she was beginning to lose herself in him, judgmental whispers from nearby onlookers punctured their moment. They glanced at her designer clothes and expensive haircut, casting disdainful comments about city girls. With a tight chest and feeling small, Lily glanced at Jack, whose eyes reflected a mixture of empathy and shared pain for her predicament. Before she could spiral down the rabbit hole of embarrassment, the joyous event suddenly turned chaotic. A commotion erupted as smoke billowed from one of the food trailers. Panic set in as people screamed and scattered, escaping the growing flames. Lily froze, the world around her blurring into chaos. In that moment of instinctual fear, Jack emerged, running towards her through the thickening smoke. "Come on," he yelled, his voice cutting through the noise. He reached her before she could comprehend the danger, grabbing her wrist and pulling her to safety just as the fire threatened to consume everything around them. The townsfolk rallied, their sense of community shining in the face of adversity, applauding Jack's bravery. Lily stood there, heart pounding, realizing this was a defining moment. Yet, even as the crowd cheered, guilt gnawed at her, a whisper of doubt about her sheltered existence. Just as her newfound emotions began to root, a familiar luxury car zoomed into view, and the reality of her aristocratic family infiltrated the warmth of the moment. They had found her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lily now faced a painful choice, the safety of her privileged past or the allure of an uncertain future with someone like Jack. As they exchanged lingering glances, a chasm opened between their worlds. The weight of expectation and the thrill of love wrestled in her heart. Would she step back into the life she ran from, or leap into the unknown? The tension simmered, leaving both love and uncertainty hanging delicately in the air. The glossy black car pulled to a stop, and Lily's heart thudded loud enough to drown out the cheers around her. The moment seemed frozen in time as she faced the sleek vehicle, her childhood prison and her family's last attempt to reel her back into a life she'd tried to escape. Out stepped her mother, impeccably dressed, her eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on Lily. There was an expression there, disappointment mixed with barely concealed anger, and it twisted something in Lily's gut. In that instant, the warmth of the community faded, replaced by the coldness she knew all too well. Is this where you've been hiding all this time? Among these people? Her mother's tone dripped with disdain as her glare shifted to Jack, assessing him as if he were a simpleton unworthy of even a glance. Mom, please. The words escaped Lily's lips almost instinctively. She stepped forward, wanting to shield Jack from her mother's judgment. The fear of her mother's disapproval tugged at her. But more overwhelming was the pull of the life she wanted to claim. She glanced back at Jack, who remained still, his expression a mix of confusion and concern. Lily, you come home right now. This isn't the place for you. Her mother's voice sang with authority. As moments passed in heavy silence, Jack stepped forward, placing a protective hand on Lily's shoulder. She's not a child anymore. She can choose where she wants to be. Lily felt an electric rush at Jack's words. He was standing up for her, fighting against the very essence of her upbringing. Her heart swelled, but it also trembled at the thought of what this confrontation could unleash. Would she become a target of criticism, a spectacle for the community? What do you know about her life? Her mother countered, disdain seeping into her voice. You think this grunge lifestyle will do anything for her? There was a ripple of discontent among the onlookers, a mix of whispers and raised eyebrows. For the first time, Lily turned to face her mother fully, her heart hammering with new conviction. This is who I want to be, she declared, her voice steady. I don't want the life you designed for me. I want real connections, and I want. She hesitated, glancing at Jack. In those brief seconds, something unspoken passed between them. I want to choose my own path. This is it. The crowd held its breath, the atmosphere electric with the weight of her words. Her mother scoffed, stepping back slightly as if physically repelled by her daughter's declaration. You'll regret this, she warned, her expression twisting into one of cold betrayal. As she turned, Lily felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with anxiety. Jack squeezed her shoulder gently, grounding her amid the turmoil. You okay? He asked, concern etched on his face. Lily took a deep breath, tasting freedom in the air. For the first time, she felt the burden of her identity slip away. Imbued with the energy of the community, she thought, maybe I can forge a path that's mine. But the exhilaration was met with an unsettling tremor as she noticed a figure emerging from the crowd. A young woman with piercing green eyes, carrying an air of authority that felt all too familiar. This was the last person Lily expected to see, her sister, Anne. What's happening here? Anne demanded, her voice a sharp blade cutting through the exhilaration. Lily's heart raced anew, not with fear but with a stubborn determination mingled with hope. As memories of their past echoed in her mind, Lily prepared to stand her ground, ready to defend her newfound freedom. But what would her sister's arrival mean for the life Lily longed to embrace? The tension hung thick in the air. Lily's mind raced, sifting through all the times and had mattered in her life and how often she'd been the rock in their tightly wound family. But today, standing here in front of Jack, the band, and this community, everything shifted. Her thoughts spun like a whirlwind, catching memories and emotions that threatened to pull her back into her past. Lily, you need to come with me, Anne said firmly, each word an order rather than a plea. You don't belong here, you know that. Lily clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. I've spent so long trying to fit into what you and Mom want. What if I don't want that anymore? Anne's eyes narrowed in confusion as if she couldn't fathom the new Lily standing before her. What's gotten into you? This is all a phase. Look around. These people are my friends. They care about me. Unlike you and Mom. Lily could feel the heat rising in her cheeks, feeling incendiary and alive. She felt Jack's presence beside her, steady and supportive, and something within her ignited. Care? For real? You think they care about you as a person? And shot back, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her tone was sharp, tinged with disbelief. The crowd shifted, whispering among themselves. Yes, I do. Lily cried, her voice strong. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm valued for who I am, not for who I should be. I have freedom here. And stepped closer, lowering her voice, urgent and desperate. But Lily, this isn't who you are. You're meant for more than this. More? Like what? The perfect job? A marriage to someone rich and successful? The words tumbled out, a release of everything bottled up inside. I want to find my own way, not be a puppet on your strings. The crowd leaned in, captivated by the unfolding drama as Lily's breath quickened. She glanced at Jack, who nodded, his eyes filled with admiration and support. That little simple gesture pushed away her looming doubts. But this place? And shook her head, confusion transforming into frustration. You think they really know you? They're fine with you rebelling against everything we've worked for. Maybe that's the point, Anne. Lily countered, a fire igniting in her chest. I'm tired of feeling like I have to apologize for my choices. This is my life, and I'm going to live it my way, even if you don't understand. For a moment, silence fell like a thick blanket. Faces around them exchanged glances, an unspoken tether binding their reactions. Anne's expression faltered, a flicker of uncertainty breaking through her stern facade. And what if they turn out to be just what you think they are? What if you get hurt? The worry in her sister's eyes disarmed Lily. She understood the fierce protectiveness, but it was suffocating. I'll take those risks, she said softly, her heart racing. Just as I'm taking a risk standing here, confronting you now. I cannot go back to hiding. The crowd began to stir with murmurs, recognizing the weight of the moment. Jack stepped in, glancing between the two sisters. It's about finding out who she really is. She needs to explore this side of her life. The reality hit, Lily's life had become a battleground. She wasn't just choosing a path, she was carving it out amid the conflicting pressures of family and identity. And if you think you can dictate my path for me, you're wrong. I want to figure this out on my own. I hope you can respect that. Anne's steeliness began to crack. You think this will make you happy? I think it's the only way I'll learn what happiness really is. The silence that followed felt monumental, charged with the weight of unsaid words. And seemed to collapse inward, the fight draining from her as she struggled to process the change in her sister. Lily and Anne stood on opposite sides, the air more brittle than ever. As the community buzzed with chatter, Lily felt a rush of empowerment mixed with fear, a tidal wave of uncertainty about what lay ahead. But she knew this battle was far from over. Turning back to Jack, Lily caught a glimpse of the future she longed for. But a part of her wondered whether she might have just begun a war worth fighting. What price would she pay for her freedom? As the murmurs trickled through the crowd, the weight of Lily's declaration hung in the air like a fragile glass ornament, ready to shatter. She could see the uncertain looks exchanged among her friends, but looking at them felt like peering into a mirror reflecting her own determination. It energized her, filled her with a deep-rooted resolve she hadn't known existed. Yet Anne stood there, rooted to the spot, visibly torn. Lily felt that familiar tug at her heart, a mix of love and frustration. Was this sister still the same person who once held her hand through nightmares and fears? Or was she now only a reminder of what had held Lily back for so long? Lily, Anne finally said, voice unsteady, I just don't want to see you make a mistake. This world is mine. Lily interrupted, feeling a bolt of defiance shoot through her. You don't have to protect me from it anymore. You taught me that, remember? You always said life isn't about being perfect, it's about living. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, sensing a shift in the narrative. The band paused mid-rehearsal, glancing over, caught up in the tension that could be felt in every heartbeat. Jack stood tall beside her, his steady gaze never wavering. Lily, and looked desperate now, you have the chance to be someone important, to build something meaningful. And what's meaningful? A life that's scripted by you and Mom? I don't want a life of perfect dinners and social events if it means losing myself in the process. The words burst from her, hot and urgent. The silence deepened, tension practically crackling in the air. Lily felt a familiar sense of vulnerability creep in, a wave of doubt threatening to wash away all her courage. What if Anne was right? What if the life she craved led her to ruin? But she wouldn't let that fear speak for her. Anne's shoulders sagged as she took a step back, the protective facade cracking further, revealing a sister filled with worry and love. It's not what I want for you, Lily. I just want you to be happy. With that, the battle lines blurred. Lily understood the love beneath Anne's fierce concern, but love could be suffocating. She took a deep breath and softened her voice. You want me to be happy. I get that. But you can't define happiness for me. I need to find it on my own. Anne hesitated, vulnerability flickering in her eyes for a moment. Lily knew this was a turning point, their relationship would either evolve or fracture. She glanced at the watching crowd again, feeling their collective energy. They believed in her. Jack believed in her. Can't you see, Anne? I've been lost for too long, Lily continued, her voice steady. This is my chance to finally forge my own path. It's terrifying, yes, but it's mine. A long pause followed. Anne's expression morphed, the weight of their shared history pressing down on both of them. There was anger, concern, but deep down, there was something resembling acceptance. Then go, Anne whispered, her voice catching in her throat. But know this, if you stumble, I'll always be here. Those words hit Lily like a wave of relief, washing away the fear of abandonment that had gripped her heart. Her sister's acceptance felt like healing, and she met Anne's gaze with a smile, tears of gratitude blurring her vision. As Lily turned back to Jack, she felt lighter, almost weightless. This battle, though just the beginning, had paved a way forward. The sun began to set behind the horizon, casting radiant colors across the sky. It felt like a new dawn. But just then, from the edge of the crowd, someone shouted, "Lily! Wait!" Her heart raced as a voice she recognized cut through the hopeful atmosphere. What was coming next? Was someone going to pull her back, or would they support her still? She turned slowly, bracing herself for whatever was about to unfold. The crowd held its breath, silence wrapping around them once again as she prepared to face the unexpected. What news would change everything? Lily squinted into the fading light, searching for the source of that familiar voice. As the figure emerged from the crowd, recognition washed over her like a tidal wave. Ryan, her high school crush turned distant friend, pushed through the onlookers, his face a mixture of determination and concern. "Lily!" He called again, reaching her just as the thrumming silence began to crack. His eyes, usually bright with mischief, were wide and earnest. "You can't just throw everything away." Her heart sank. She had imagined today as a potential turning point, the moment when she fully embraced her new path. Yet, here he was, just another tether trying to pull her back. "What do you mean?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The crowd shifted, anxious for this unexpected confrontation, unsure of which way tension would tip. Ryan took a breath, glancing at Anne and then back at Lily, his gaze flickering with empathy. "I heard what you said. I get it," he said quietly. "But running away isn't the answer. You're chasing a dream that might just lead you off a cliff." Lily felt heat rise in her chest. "You think I'm running? I'm trying to live, Ryan. There's a difference." Her words cut through the air like a knife, sharper than she intended. "You think I haven't wanted to break free too?" He shot back, his voice rising. "But maybe the answer isn't to abandon everything you've known. You can find yourself and still hold on to what matters. The crowd had come alive, murmurs rippling like waves. Anne's worried gaze bounced between her sister and Ryan, a tug-of-war she felt too close to truly understand. Lily took a step back, her chest tightening. You don't get it. You never did. The bitterness of the past seeped into her voice. I felt trapped in a life that wasn't mine, surrounded by people rooting for someone I wasn't. I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not just to make you all feel better. Ryan's shoulders slumped, and he looked genuinely hurt. For once, just listen. You're confusing running from something with running toward something. This is about choices, not escape. You think you know what will make you happy, but what if you lose everything in the process? The weight of his words settled in her gut. She had been so consumed with casting away her old life that maybe she hadn't considered the fallout. Could she really forsake her family, her sister? Jack stepped forward, planting himself firmly beside Lily. Sometimes, taking a leap doesn't mean discarding everything behind you. His voice was steady and comforting. Ryan turned to Jack, confusion flickering across his face. You're supporting this? It's not about support or opposition, Jack replied. It's about finding her way. Maybe she just needs to find the balance. The ground beneath her feet felt shaky as doubt crept into her heart. Would she stumble? Would she find herself out in the cold, free but alone? I don't want to be some puppet, Lily said, her voice small now. But I also don't want to make a mistake I can't come back from. Ryan stepped closer, a gentler tone washing over him. It's okay to be afraid. But running away it might not be the answer. Talk to your family. You can stay true to yourself and also be part of that world. Tension slipped into uncertainty as the sun began to dip, painting the sky with colors of hope and regret. Lily's heart raced. She could feel everything shifting around her, but what would her decision be? What did she truly want now? As she looked around at the faces that had once seemed intimidating, she felt a flicker of warmth. Could she really find a middle ground? But before she could answer, a small voice broke through, calling from the back. Lily. Mom's here. Her breath caught in her throat. Would this be a moment of clarity, or the beginning of complications she couldn't foresee? The weight of her choices hung in the balance, and the outcome felt uncertain. What would she say, and how would it change everything? Lily's heart raced as she turned towards the voice. The excitement in the air was electric, but her pulse drummed wildly. Each beat echoed her inner turmoil. This was the moment, a turning point filled with hope and apprehension. She half expected dread to flood her when she saw her mother pushing through the last remnants of the crowd. Her mom looked as if she'd just come from the office, hair perfectly styled and the weight of the world resting on her shoulders. There it was, a familiar feeling that twinged at Lily's heartstrings. Her mother's presence made everything feel heavy yet reassuring. Lily. She called, her voice firm but concerned. Mom. Lily replied, a mix of relief and frustration coursing through her. As their eyes locked, Lily saw the worry etched into her mother's face. She was searching for answers in a look, a response, anything that could hint at how to bridge the gap that had grown wider over the years. I came as soon as I heard, her mother said, moving close. What is going on? Just some things I need to figure out, Lily replied, her heart in her throat. She could feel everyone waiting, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Ryan looked from Lily to her mother and then turned to Anne and Jack, confusion painted across his expression. Maybe now isn't the time for more drama, he interjected, trying to alleviate the tension. But it was too late. The tension was already spiraling, and Lily felt trapped. The family dynamics that had always felt suffocating now pulled her in different directions like a game of tug-of-war. I'm not a child anymore, she finally blurted out, her voice boldly cutting through the noise. I need to do what's right for me. Her mom's gaze softened but remained steady. We only want what's best for you, Lily. We've talked about this. There was an urgency beneath her calm, almost a plea for understanding. And do you think what's best for me is trying to keep my life the same? Lily shot back, fear and anger bubbling just beneath the surface. You want me to follow a path that I never chose, just to make you happy? The crowd around them flinched at her words, some gasping softly in surprise. Lily felt an almost visceral reaction to their judgment. But there was an undeniable urgency in her words. Today was about honesty, raw, unfiltered clarity. Ryan took a step closer to her, his expression intense. You've got to communicate what you want, Lily. They can't read your mind. His voice was firm, comforting, and complicated all at once. Lily swallowed hard, her throat dry. And suddenly, all of her hesitations began to coalesce. What if I've made a mistake? She whispered, vulnerability creeping into her tone. What if leaving hurts everyone I care about? Then you talk to them, you don't just disappear, Ryan pleaded. You owe it to yourself and them not to just run away. As she looked back at her mother, she saw a woman who had devoted her life to her family, yet had also burdened them with expectations. It touched something deep inside, a yearning for authenticity. I just want to be me, Lily confessed quietly, almost afraid to embrace the words. The crowd's murmurs faded away, and the world around her felt distant as she searched her mother's eyes for understanding. Suddenly, the faint sounds of music echoed from the distance, blending into the vibrant dusk painting the sky. Lily looked back at Ryan, then at her sister and Jack. They had rallied behind her, but the real battle was between her heart and the life she had known. Could she find the courage to chase what she wanted while also embracing the love around her? As they all stood in the fading light, the air thick with unspoken words and unresolved feelings, Lily knew she had a choice to make. Would she dare to step into the unknown, or was she bound to the life waiting for her at home? As her mother reached out, a hand trembling with the weight of unanswered questions, Lily felt the ground shift beneath her feet. Would she pull away or reach for the connection she had longed for? And in that moment of hesitation, a sense of clarity washed over her. But clarity often brings its own set of complications. What lay ahead was still obscured in a veil of uncertainty, and as the night deepened, so did the stakes of her decision. Lily steeled herself for what might be the hardest conversation of her life. The moment stretched painfully, filling the air with a heaviness that felt almost suffocating. As her mother's south hand hovered close, Lily could feel her heart smashing against her ribs, the weight of the moment amplified by the air buzzing with anticipation. Every shared glance and unsaid word seemed to pulsate with years of unresolved emotions. Her mother's lips parted as if to speak, but no words emerged. Instead, they stood there, an ocean of silence between them. The distant music faded, replaced by the sound of her thundering heart. It pulsed uncertainty through her limbs, urging her to break free from the invisible bindings that tied her to the past. "Mom," she began, her voice trembling as she sought the right words. "You raised me to be strong, to stand up for myself. Yet, here I am, caught between what I've always known and what I want to be." The truth was like a raw wound, a fragile admission that could either heal or fester. Her mother was still watching her intently, eyes glistening with the threat of tears. "I never meant to cage you," she whispered, the authority in her voice cracking. "I just wanted to keep you safe. I thought I was doing what was best." Lily could feel the conflict waging inside her. But what if what's best for me looks different from what you envisioned? What if me being me feels like falling apart to you? The words tumbled out, filled with confusion and defiance, echoing sincerity through the gathering dusk. Ryan shifted slightly, his presence a steady anchor in the midst of the emotional storm. He watched Lily with unwavering support, silently urging her to unleash whatever had captured her heart. "Lily," he urged softly, "you can't continue holding this in. It's okay to be scared, but you must express what you truly feel." Taking a deep breath, Lily gathered her courage. "I'm tired of being what you expect of me. The confession was liberating yet terrifying, igniting a spark of fear deeply rooted within. She glanced at her sister, who looked astonished but attentive. Jack shifted uncomfortably, seeming unsure of how to navigate this delicate family moment. Maybe I've made mistakes, Lily continued, pushing through the tide of uncertainty. Maybe leaving will change everything. But isn't that what life is about? Taking risks? Finding our own way? She felt freedom in her words, each syllable urging her to embrace authenticity. Mom's expression transformed from anxiety to understanding, as if a wall had gradually begun to crumble. You deserve to be happy, whatever that looks like, she finally said, her voice tinged with emotion. But you have to know you can always come back. No matter where you go, home is still here. Lily's heart swelled at her mother's words. For the first time, she saw a flicker of acceptance in her mom's eyes. An understanding that didn't depend on obligations or expectations. But even with this newfound connection, doubt still lingered in the corners of her mind. A sudden hush fell as the sounds from the small crowd flickered in and out, like static on a radio. In this vulnerable moment, everything felt magnified, the stakes, the emotions, the potential paths ahead. As the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, a powerful sense of urgency surged. If she didn't act now, she might lose this spark of revelation. Think about what I said, Lily urged, feeling the weight of every shared moment behind her words. I want to figure things out, but I can't do it under the shadow of what we've always had. Can you release me? As those last words hung in the air, she braced herself for what might follow. Could this be the moment that truly reshaped their bond, allowing both to take the steps they feared to take alone? Deep down, she felt a flicker of hope igniting, cradled in the tension of the unknown. But just as she thought she was stepping into clarity, Lily noticed a couple of faces in the crowd shift uneasily. Fingers gestured towards the entrance of the venue. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again. Had someone overheard? A flood of uncertainty rushed back. Would confrontation follow? As she turned to see what had sparked the change, her heart raced at the realization that the biggest tests were still to come. In that moment of chaos, Lily wondered, was she truly ready for what lay ahead? As the murmurs spread through the crowd like a wave, Lily felt her heart plummet. She turned slowly toward the entrance, eyes wide, the comfortable warmth of her family's acceptance now feeling like an echo on the brink of fracture. What had they heard? What would they say? The air throbbed with questions, and for a frantic moment, her breath came unevenly. Ryan took a step closer, mirroring her tension. His calm demeanor wrapped around her like a lifeline. It's okay, he whispered, but doubt colored his voice, revealing the uncertainty they both felt. Lily's gaze sharpened as she tried to make sense of the shifting faces. Two figures stood out, silhouetted against the soft lighting of the venue. They wore expressions that mingled confusion and curiosity. Her stomach churned. Did they know what she had just risked everything to admit? What are they doing? And S voice flitted nervously beside her. Lacking the courage to answer, Lily felt a rush of regret seize her heart. Had she just bared her soul only to have it witnessed by strangers? But as the figures moved closer, the dim atmosphere brightened, revealing Kyle and Megan, two friends from high school she hadn't seen in years. Kyle, the boy with the easy smile, had always been charming, while Megan had been the accomplished leader everyone respected. In high school, they had a clique that felt unbreakable, a cocoon of shared highs and lows, but that was a lifetime ago. Kyle. Megan. Lily managed, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She felt a mix of affection and apprehension. Would they be kind, or would they take this moment to pin her to a cross of her own making? We heard the commotion, Kyle said, glancing between Lily and the tightness in her mother's expression. Is everything okay? Lily's insides twisted. Standing here felt like being caught between who she was supposed to be and the person she was desperate to become. Yeah, just a family conversation. Megan stepped up, her brow furrowed with concern. You look different, Lily. Is there something you want to share? The sincerity in her voice bolstered Lily's resolve, almost pushing her to leap off the cliff she'd been teetering on. Actually, yes. The words slipped out before she could think better of it. I've been trying to figure out who I am outside of the expectations. She glanced back at her mother, who still appeared stunned but held her gaze, encouraging her softly. Lily swallowed hard, her voice steadying. I don't want to be just the perfect daughter anymore. I want to explore what makes me happy. She anticipated the flutter of shock, the tug of judgment, but instead, she saw Kyle and Megan exchange knowing glances. Wow, Kyle said simply, his eyes wide but warm. That's really brave, Lily. This is the kind of thing we've all struggled with, Megan piped in. A lot of us are still figuring it out ourselves. Lily felt her heart begin to thaw. Maybe this wasn't just about her anymore. Maybe it was about everyone understanding plight, connection, and finding courage together. Suddenly, the room felt charged with new energy, and she could sense a shift as old walls began to crack, not just in her, but in the others around her. It became more than just a private reckoning, it transformed into a shared experience. But just as the momentum shifted, a loud voice cut through the murmur, demanding attention. What is this ridiculous scene? We need to get moving. The commanding tone belonged to an old family friend, someone whose presence always weighed heavily on Lily's shoulders. She froze again, ready to withdraw, the past rushing back to swallow her whole. Would she always be seen through that lens? Would her truth even matter? As she locked eyes with her mother, she felt a new fire, the sense that the stakes had risen, that this battle was far from over. How could she keep that spark alive in the face of this new threat? Will Lily stand firm against the rising tide? And will this newfound courage withstand the storm that's just destined to break? Lily drew in a shaky breath, gripping Ryan's arm as if it was a buoy in turbulent waters. The tension settled over her like a heavy fog. She could feel the eyes of the room on her, judging and critiquing, weighing the honesty she had just laid bare. The familiar figure of Mr. Hargrove loomed larger than life, and in that moment, he could have been an executioner demanding her compliance. Her mother remained frozen, caught between worry and confusion. It's just a conversation, Lily repeated, not quite believing the words herself. A part of her screamed to take flight, to escape the reality spiraling out of control, but another part stronger now urged her to stand tall. Mr. Hargrove's sharp gaze glinted under the overhead lights. Lily, dear, don't be foolish. We have plans. You know the only reason we're here is for the gala tonight. He stepped forward, a power play intended to dominate the conversation and squash whatever self-discovery she was grasping at. Plans, she echoed, the word tasting bitter. Plans I didn't choose. Plans where I'm always the perfect daughter, the proper heiress. What about what I want? Her voice surged, laden with defiance she never knew she could muster. Murmurs danced around the crowd, curiosity lacing every whisper. They were intrigued now, leaning in, more engaged by her uprising than she had ever hoped. Lily, we can't just change things because you feel like being rebellious. His tone dripped with condescension. You don't understand the responsibilities at stake. But I'm not just a pawn in your game, Mr. Hargrove. I want to decide for myself. Each word rang with clarity, and the silence that settled afterward felt electric. Wow, that was intense, Kyle remarked, visibly impressed, while Megan shot her a grin filled with pride. Encouragement washed over Lily like a warm tide, urging more from within her. Being responsible doesn't mean suffocating my dreams, she continued, emboldened. I've spent years trying to fit into the mold you all made for me. But I can't do it anymore. I need to live my life in my own way. The energy shifted in the room. Friends she thought had forgotten her existence began to nod their heads in agreement. Encouraged murmurs rippled through the crowd. Yeah, Lily. You do you. Someone shouted from the back, breaking the tension. Lily's heart raced, a flurry of hope fluttering to life amidst the weight of anxious vulnerability. She could see her mother's expression change from disbelief to consideration, the slightest crack in her facade. Think about what you're saying, Mr. Hargrove insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. Your actions will have consequences. You're stepping into uncharted territory. Maybe that's exactly where I need to be, Lily shot back coolly, the conviction ringing clear. She was done being boxed in by expectations. Yet with her boldness came a sting of apprehension. What would come from this newfound voice? Would she lose the family she loved in her pursuit of freedom? The thought tugged at her heart. Lily, Ryan said softly, stepping closer, his eyes reflecting support. You've got this. Just stay true to yourself. Stay true, she echoed, the words resonating. Perhaps this was more than just rebellion, it was a chance at authenticity, a beacon of hope for others feeling trapped like herself. Suddenly, her mother took a step forward, breaking the barrier. Lily, honey, before you make any more declarations. Her voice wavered slightly. Let us talk. Can we talk? Hope ignited within Lily, but fear quickly followed. Was this the moment to solidify her newfound independence or succumb to the familiar influence? How would she navigate the conversation? And what truths were waiting to emerge from the whisperings of her heart? The weight of the moment bore down upon her as she took a step toward her mother. Could this be the beginning of something transformative? Or would doubts linger, threatening to pull her back into the shadows? The pit in Lily's stomach twisted painfully, but there was an undeniable flicker of hope sparking within her. Her mother's voice had wavered just enough, a crack in the armor that had kept them at odds for too long. Can we talk? Lily repeated, a knot of fear and anticipation tightening in her throat. She glanced at Anne and Jack, their eyes reflecting mutual support and a hint of curiosity about the impending conversation. Ryan nodded encouragingly, and for a moment, that gave her the confidence she so desperately needed. Let us step outside, her mother suggested, gesturing toward the fringe of the gathering where the twinkling fairy lights hung over comfortable chairs, a realm away from the pressure of judgmental eyes. The surrounding voices buzzed softly, but they all began to fade as Lily followed her mom, each step heavy with unspoken words. As they reached a semi-secluded nook, the air felt different, cooler, calmer, a welcome break from the charged atmosphere. The chaos of the expo faded behind them, leaving only the sound of rustling leaves and occasional laughter. I didn't expect to see you here, Lily, her mother said, reining back the tightness in her voice. I thought you were still lost in your own world. A world where I'm just what you made me to be? Lily replied, emotions swirling. I want to be something more. I need to be something more. More? Her mother frowned, the elegance in her posture morphing into uncertainty. What does that mean? You're leaving everything, the family name, our connections, and a life of comfort. Does that really make you happy? It's not just about comfort. It's about being true to myself. I need to step out and see what the world has to offer, to feel real joy and pain, and to find my place in it without you deciding all the paths for me. Each word dripped with the weight of love and resentment, a balancing act that had left her feeling off-kilter for too long. Her mother's eyes softened momentarily, as though a veil had lifted, revealing a flicker of understanding. But what if you find that you don't like what you discover? What if you lose everything? What if you hurt? Lily's heart squeezed. There's no growth without risk, Mom. I won't find myself hiding from the fear of failure. I'll take that leap, even if it scares me. I think that's the point, finding joy amidst the uncertainty. The silence between them echoed like the hum of a distant melody, drawing in memories of nurturing moments and shared laughter. Lily's mind raced through nights spent dreaming and sunsets shared. The realization washed over her: her mother's concern came from love, but it no longer respected her autonomy. What's wrong with caring about you? You think I built this life for you out of selfishness? Her mother's tone was sharp, but Lily could see the trembling beneath it, the vulnerability that all these years of fragility had hidden. Lily stepped forward, her chest tightening as her breath came in shallow bursts. Of course I know you love me, but that love suffocates me, she admitted, her voice quivering. You tied your dreams to me, and now I don't know how to unravel that without hurting you. But I need to try. The hurt flickered across her mother's face, and for a long moment, the world around them faded. The distance that had grown between them felt insurmountable, but with the resolve stirring inside, Lily knew now was her chance. I want to invite you into my life instead of pushing you away, she continued. This community, they're real. They see and appreciate me for who I am. Can't you, just for once, try to trust my choices? Her mother's silence felt like an eternity, both comforting and tormenting. But then, slowly, she exhaled deeply, the tension visibly leaving her shoulders. I can try, Lily. I can't promise to understand everything, but I'm willing to listen. I want to build a connection that's real, too. That small concession glimmered with possibility. Do you really mean that? Lily whispered, her heart racing. I do, her mother replied with surprising softness. Your happiness is what I care about. There was no defiance in her tone now, only a hint of hope. Lily stepped back slightly, her heart swelling. The rush of emotion felt like a tide coming in, dangerous yet promising. But this was the beginning, not the end. She needed to forge her path, and her mother's willingness to communicate made it a little easier. Thank you. Just let us figure this out together. Lily reached for her mother, and they stood in that sacred space. A knot began to loosen between them, and it felt like the bonds of their relationship had shifted ever so slightly, paving way toward a more loving future. As they walked back toward the gathering, hand in hand, the fresh buzz of anticipation filled the air. Friends cheered and laughter resonated. Jack, Ryan, and the crowd erupted with applause as they emerged, giving her a supportive nudge to keep forging ahead. This time, instead of feeling hesitant and bound, Lily smiled. There was a flicker of freedom, a sense of triumph. You ready to share the journey? Jack asked as they moved closer. Lily lifted her chin, buoyed by acceptance and bravery. More than ready. The air flickered with newfound understanding. Together, they began to weave a shared story, one step at a time, with trust and hope illuminating the way. And as twilight settled, the community no longer felt foreign, it felt like home. This was only the beginning of rebuilding her life, one where she could learn from her past but not be defined by it. And while the future remained uncertain, it felt lighter to exist in a space of possibilities, ready to embrace whatever awaited her next. Now, all that was left was to take that leap. Don't miss this transformative journey. You need to subscribe now to our channel to witness more stories of heart and courage. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and ensure we keep bringing you these incredible moments. Comment your feelings about this ending, your thoughts matter to us. And, I urge you, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second.